God's New King, Part 1, based on 1 Samuel chapters 16 and 17.
God sends his prophet Samuel to Bethlehem, where he is greeted by Jesse, the grandson of Ruth and Boaz.
Samuel? Oh no, what have we done wrong?
Don't worry. I haven't come to judge you. I've come to give an offering to God. Jesse, God wants me to choose one of your sons for a special service. Will you bring your sons to me?
Of course. This is my oldest son, Eliab.
He is so tall and strong. Surely this is the one God has chosen.
But Samuel hears God's voice.
You can only see how tall and handsome he is. I can see his heart. He is not the one.
I'm sorry. Eliab is not the one. Call another.
7 of Jesse's sons appear before Samuel, but not one of them is chosen.
Have I seen all your sons?
No, the youngest one, David, is tending the sheep. I'll send one of my sons as a servant for him.
Jesse's son finds his brother in the fields outside Bethlehem.
There's David.
Look, a lion! And David doesn't see it.
Just like his great-grandparents, David is honorable, faithful, and brave. His keen ears hear a swish in the tall grass. He whirls.
A lion!
David, the lion! You killed it!
I also had to kill a bear a few days ago. Nothing's going to hurt my father's sheep if I can help it.
You're a brave shepherd, David. But hurry home. Samuel wants to see you. I brought a man to stay with the sheep.
The Lord's prophet wants to see me? But why?
On the hike back to the city, David continues to wonder. But when Samuel sees the young shepherd boy, he hears God say,
This is my chosen one.
David doesn't know when he will become king, but as he goes back to his sheep, he has a special feeling of God's presence with him.
The Lord is my shepherd, my needs are supplied. He shows me safe pastures where we walk side by side.
That's a beautiful song, but I've never heard it before.
I just made it up. It gets lonely out here, so I write songs and sing them to the Lord.
Back at the palace, the men go to see King Saul, but they find him staring wildly into space.
Sometimes I think the king is going mad. Music seems to be the only thing that helps.
I know, the shepherd boy. O king, we know a young shepherd who plays the harp and sings beautiful songs. It's plain that God is with the boy. Would you like to hear him?
Send for him.
God uses David's musical talent to introduce him to the royal court, the first step toward making him king of Israel one day. Here David can learn about kingship and government. He can also witness what life is like for King Saul, who doesn't rely on the Lord.
The king is very ill today, so he may be dangerous. Don't take your eyes off of him for a second.
Quietly, David enters the king's room and begins to play. Saul stares at him wildly, but David continues to play and sing of his faith in God. At last, King Saul relaxes and falls asleep. After that, David is often called to the palace. His music quiets Saul's tortured mind, and eventually the king seems well again. For a time. A few years later, the Philistines collect their forces for an attack against Israel. Saul masses his army against them, and David's 3 oldest brothers join the king's forces. One evening, David comes in from the fields to find his father busy packing food.
This is for your brothers. I want you to take it to them.
I'll leave right away. What's the latest news from the battlefront?
Not good, and I'm worried.
The not good news is this. A giant is fighting for the Philistines. All the Israelites are scared of him, including King Saul.
What's going on?
Why do you bother lining up for battle? Just send out a man who dares to fight me. If he kills me, then the Philistines will all put down their weapons and be your servants. But if I kill him, you will be our servants.
Who is this unclean Philistine that thinks he can defy the army of God? I'll fight the giant.
David's words spread through the camp.
O king, there is one person who will fight, but bring him here at once.
David enters Saul's tent, but Saul does not recognize this young shepherd as the same boy who used to play for him.
An untrained teenager? You can't fight a giant. He's an elite warrior.
I don't need armor, just some stones for my sling.
With only his shepherd's staff and a sling, David goes out to meet the Philistine giant. The armies of both camps watch their champions as they face each other.
Ha ha ha! Do you think I'm a dog that you can chase me away with sticks and stones? I'll give your flesh to the wild animals.
You come with a sword, a spear, and a shield, but I come in the name of God, who will give me the victory!
The giant laughs, but David whirls his sling, takes careful aim, and lets the stone fly. David has slain Goliath with a single shot from his sling. He runs to the body, grabs Goliath's sword, and holds it up in victory.
Let everyone know that our God does not need human weapons. This battle is the Lord's, and he has delivered the Philistines to us.
In terror, the Philistines flee for their lives. Spurred on by this sudden turn of events, the excited Israelites chase the Philistines back to their own land.